Hello everybody and welcome back to Champions Chat, where today we are talking about the Team Rocket expansion. Team Rocket came out in April 2000 and it should be a very short video because actually not much happened with Team Rocket. There's really only 4 cards I want to talk about. One's a Pokemon, the other 3 are either energy or trainers, and it just really wasn't that impactful yet. Later on down the road it can make some very interesting decks, but for now not much is changing with the addition of just Team Rocket. Dark Vileplume is the first one I want to talk about. 60 hit points, stage 2, Pokemon Power, Hay Fever, no trainer cards. So anybody that's played Pokemon for any extended period of time knows that Trainer Lock is one of the most insanely good concepts in the game. Maybe not good, but strong, I should say. Multiple world championships. Jason won with Mutrick in 2006, where it focused on the disconnect attack. He won with Seismitoad, which focused on the, well, I think it was Quaking Punch or something. Double Carless, 30, no trainers. Just Trainer Lock is very, very strong. When they can't play trainers, they just lose very frequently. They just are unable to set up. They can't get Pokemon out. They can't use their plan. Very difficult to beat Trainer Lock. So Dark Vileplume is a top tier card, but he doesn't reach his full potential yet because there's not enough stuff in the card pool to combo with him. At this point in Team Rocket, what the deck looks like is you're using Psyduck's Headache to stop them from playing trainer cards until you get the Vileplume out. And then once you get the Vileplume out, you've essentially locked them out of trainers for the entire game. From the Headaches early on to the Vileplume now, and they're just never out of it unless they play Muck. The things you can pair with Vileplume right now are really limited. The best option seems to be Snorlax from Jungle. The reason we're using Snorlax is because Dark Gloom has a Pokepower. Pollen Stench. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may flip a coin. If heads, the defending Pokemon is not confused. If tails, you're confused. Which combos very well with Snorlax. Thick Skin. Snorlax can't become asleep, confused, paralyzed, or poisoned. So what this deck is trying to do is trying to build a Snorlax with double Carless energy, and it can never get removed. They can't play energy removal, they can't play super energy removal. And then you're just trying to inflict their active with status effects every single turn. There's a Drowsy that can sleep on a flip. There's the Dark Gloom that can confuse on a flip. Snorlax is safe from all this stuff. He paralyzes on a flip. So you're just trying to like grind out this 30 damage a turn, and while simultaneously stopping them from attacking. They can't play switch cards. They can't get out of it. It's a interesting deck, but it's just not powerful enough, in my opinion, with Snorlax. Snorlax is just too mediocre of a card. It's 4 energy 30. So if they ever have any sort of counter to Vileplume, you're just never ever winning. If they run Muck, you're never winning. If they run Hitmonchan, fighting Machop, it's just devastating that they're just doing 1 energy 40 and you're doing 4 energy 30. You know, it's just not a good enough Pokemon to pair with it. There's better stuff later on in future formats, but for now, the deck is good, but not amazing. So Dark Vileplume is the first one out of the set that is a reasonably good card. Next, let's get to the energy. Full Heal Energy. Full Heal Energy provides a colorless energy, but it also removes all status conditions from the Pokemon you attach it to. This is really good against Dark Vileplume decks, obviously, but the big thing is just Lickitung. It's a solid answer for Wigglytuff against Lickitung. Oftentimes you're doing the wave, they can't really outpace you. They're doing 10 damage, you're doing 60 damage. But they can get that string of heads on you and just paralyze, and set you up and just buy a lot of time until they can handle the Wigglytuff. This just puts an end to that. Anytime they flip heads on Tongue Wrap, you now have an option to just attach to the Wigglytuff, and that paralysis is gone, and you can just do the wave again. So really, really good card with Wigglytuff. Hurts Lickitung pretty solidly. Lickitung is still a very top tier card, but this gives you some stuff against it. Next, Nightly Garbage Run. Choose up to 3 basic Pokemon cards, evolution cards, and or basic energy cards from your discard pile. Show them to your opponent and shuffle them in your deck. So decking is a big problem in these early formats because Lickitung is just such a wall and Chansey's such a wall. We've went over this 100 times. We've shown it in games. It's just almost impossible to draw 6 prizes against Lickitung, Chansey, Scyther decks. This card really hurts those decks because it automatically just gives you 3 extra turns to finish them off. Just one copy of this. When you run 4 Item Finder and multiple copies of this card, you can potentially just buy yourself like a 20 extra turns against one of these Lickitung, Chansey decks. And if you're playing Wigglytuff, just 60 every turn, maybe half the turns if you're getting paralyzed each turn, it's just going to eventually overwhelm them. So this is another great addition to Wigglytuff decks because it gives it more turns to hang on and beat those Lickitung decks that are trying to stall them out. Last card, another one that's great with Wigglytuff, Rocket Sneak Attack. Rocket Sneak Attack. Look at your opponent's hand. If he or she has any trainer cards, choose one of them. Your opponent shuffles that card into his or her deck. Another Wigglytuff card. So the big problem with Wigglytuff is you play the energy, you play the double colorless, you do the wave, and then they just super energy removal, and you're stuck there. The turn before you do the wave, you can now Rocket Sneak Attack and hopefully nail their super energy removal. If they have 2, you can play a second Sneak Attack. If they have 2 and an Oak, you can now Item Finder a Sneak Attack. This card is really good at protecting your Wigglytuff. The turn you're going to do the wave, you just Sneak Attack away all their trainers so they don't have an answer to Wigglytuff. They don't have any tricks to get rid of the energy, and then you just do the wave, do the wave, do the wave over and over again. And sometimes, if your opponent doesn't draw out of it, it's just an unpreventable loss. You're going to win based on their draws. Very powerful. Decks are very limited in how much space they have, so there's a couple schools of thought on if you should even be playing this. I personally don't like Rocket Sneak Attack because Lickitung still is able to buy a lot of time and Chansey against the Wigglytuff where they're eventually going to draw out of it. And when they draw out of it, that card is now an extra card in their deck that you Snuck Attack. It's back in the deck. It adds a card to their deck, so they're going to be less likely to deck out. And this is just ends up being a dead card. Say you Sneak Attack twice, and then they just draw an Oak. Those 2 Sneak Attacks have just been completely negated, and it's like you're playing a 58 card deck. You're essentially just playing math and hoping your opponent doesn't draw out of it. So it's good against certain decks that are light on draw and light on big basic Pokemon. But Lickitung, Scyther, Chansey, those cards are all still very prevalent in this format, and they all run a lot of draw. So I don't think this card is that effective against those decks because they are able to hold on and draw the Oak or draw the Item Finder, draw the Com Search, and get out of that Sneak Attack lock. And when they do, you know, it's just the equivalent of them top decking against the last, you know? It's just, they now have all the momentum and they're going to put you in trouble. So it's a great card, but controversial in how good it is in this format. So the running theme here with Team Rocket is it's very good for Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff gained a lot of cards that help it against Lickitung. It gained the Nightly Garbage Run to keep it from decking. It gained the Sneak Attack to take away the super energy removals. And it gained the full heal energy to get out of paralysis. In terms of the tier list, my trainers are going to stay the same. But at this point, I want to move Wigglytuff up to number 2 ahead of Scyther. So number 1 is going to be Lickitung, number 2 is going to be Wigglytuff, and number 3 is going to be Scyther. I think at this point in the game is where Wigglytuff is at its absolute highest potential. When Gym comes along, there's some other combinations of cards that end up being a lot better than Wigglytuff decks. And there's those trap decks that just make Wigglytuff, well, sometimes Wigglytuff can be in the trap deck, but the whole format is just really a degenerative crapshoot that nothing is good in Hasted Gym because the format's stupid. We'll talk about that when we get there, especially with the vending machine cards. That's, ugh, don't even get me started. But base to Rocket, I think, is where Wigglytuff is at its maximum potential. I'm still going to have Lickitung ahead of it because that 90 hit point tongue wrap is still going to buy all the time. A couple heads is going to get you multiple turn tickets. Wigglytuff to buy that super energy removal. If they do the wave one time, you can super off that energy, scoop it up, and do it again. It's just still a little bit too much for Wigglytuff to deal with. But Wiggly is definitely now in the top 2 with all the tools. It has, at this point, it has the maximum amount of tools it needs to deal with any kind of deck. So yeah, that is Team Rocket. Not a long video, which is good. The other ones have been very long. I think it was 2 hours. The one I posted, me against Jason, base to fossil. If you watched that, kudos, you're a champion. So we're gonna end it here. Thanks for watching, I appreciate it. Next is the gym series, and we're gonna do both of those together. We're gonna do Gym Heroes and Gym Challenge together. And be pre-warned, it's ugly. A lot of bad stuff happens to the game when those sets come out, including Chaos Gym, Rocket's Trap. You'll see when we get there. So anyways, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, hate it, love it. I don't know, do something. Peace.